Father, we thank you for this time. I thank you for this hour. Let something be said that will transform, set the captives free. Bless my brothers and sisters in ATL. Bless those who are watching by way of video. Bless anybody who's listening. In Jesus' name, amen. One of the things that I've been hearing over the last few weeks for my own life, and I figure I'd just go ahead and talk about it with all of us, and that is the need for patience. The need to be patient. The need to be patient with myself, patient with my family, patient with God. Patience literally means to be long in passion. And when you are patient, it means to be active and responding to something while you're patient. So patience is not me mustering up the mental strength to be able to overcome this thought so I won't go off. Or patience is not that. That's the Western understanding. Patience is not, give me the mental strength to endure this. But patience is the enduring until God does what he's going to do. And so patience is more about your relationship towards God and being passive with others than it is about your relationship with you and you being able to withstand something. So when God is patient with us, he postpones judgment. So we thank God because his grace, he postponed judgment. He could have judged us, but he did not judge us. Patience. Patience, we give our attention more to God and not on our behavior. So patience is not sitting on your hands or your hands and white knuckling it as you grin and bear it through life. Patience is when I leave things up to God. Patience says, I leave it to you, God. I'm in a season of patience where sometimes you can do things to make things happen, but sometimes you just have to not sometime, all the time. God, do what you are going to do. Do what you're going to do with this child. Do what you're going to do with this family. Do what you're going to do with this job. But I don't have it in me to try to work this up again. So love is patient. And if love is patient, then that means I am not in control. When love is patient, I am willing to allow God to do what he's going to do. I accept whatever comes. I allow whatever befalls me. When patience is of God, whatever falls my way, I allow it. Now, it may seem strange when I say allow it because sometimes you can be distracted and you can keep yourself impatient and not allow yourself to see what's going on. Sometimes God is bringing something into your life, and in him bringing something into your life, thank you, what he's doing is he's literally bringing a season into your life, but you have to be patient to see what he's doing. See, I didn't understand that once and for all, God had allowed all this drama and all this stuff to come into my life because he says, once and for all, we're going to get this together. Once and for all, you're going to get through this season without cutting up. You're going to get through this season without going off. You're going to get through this season without cursing people out. You're going to get through this season without taking total control. You're going to get through this season as a man of God in what you believe. And so when I'm not in control, that means my world is not up to me. When I wait, I wait. Waiting is not just waiting and counting sheep or waiting and counting and holding your breath. Waiting is waiting with expectation that he is going to show up. So when you're waiting on something with your child, sometimes you have to wait for your child to come around, but you have an expectation that God is going to show up in their life. Sometimes it may not happen till 25. But you must maintain that expectation. Patience. Say patience. Patience is about progress, not perfection. Patience is about being able to move forward. It's not about things being done to being perfect. I will wait on him and see the change that he is going to bring. When you wait, you got to wait on him for him to bring you into something. It wasn't until recently that I was just trying to figure, all right, God, what's happening? And it wasn't until last week or within the last couple of days when God says, it was my pleasure to break down and destroy what you had built, Duran. That was a hard thing to hear from me. Let me explain this to you. I had worked on this ministry for years, worked in the ministry for years, and then it started having some shakings and some things going on. And God said, it's my pleasure to destroy it. He said, because it's not built on me, it's built on relationship with men. He said, you built it. Yes, you did the best. Sometimes we do the best we know to do, and that's all we know to do. I would have never known that a ministry built on relationship with each other would cause schisms to go through a ministry where people would now be more connected with each other than they were to God. And so now I had to be patient and go through an entire season of saying, hey, this ministry hearts must be turned to God. Well, that means that I have to wait in expectation for you all to get right with God. And so now I'm beginning to see things that are happening. People are becoming spiritual. Our ministry has become more spiritual. We've done more with less than we had with more. More reaching, more effectiveness. Even the things that I'm saying right now, I believe them now because they're no longer a step to get somewhere. What I'm talking to you is a reality. This ain't book knowledge. And so when you wait, you are waiting in expectation that God is going to do something. You know he's going to do something. It says in Numbers 9, even when the cloud lingered over the tabernacle for many days, the Israelites would keep their obligation to the Lord and not set out. Sometimes the cloud remained for a few days over the tabernacle in accordance what it was commanded, and sometimes it moved forward. Sometimes it lingered, and sometimes it moved forward. And then sometimes it said by pillar by night, cloud by day. It says when the fire moved, they would move. When the cloud moved, they would move. When the cloud stayed still, they would stay still. Listen, patience is about moving when the Spirit moves within you. Listen, sometimes God will bring some stuff into your life in the terms of turmoil, marital relationships. So all kinds of family relationships will be strained. But God is trying to do something inside of that. And you've now got to be quickened and move when it's time to move. And so he says, and by day there was a pillar of fire. At night it was a pillar of fire. By day it was a cloud. And they just kept moving. And then when it stayed and it lingered, then they hung for a while. See, what I've had to learn for myself, you got to be patient with yourself to be patient while you're being patient. You got to remind yourself, I'm being patient here while I'm being patient, because sometimes you can become impatient with being patient. And anybody who's been rushing trying to make something happen know exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes you get sick of yourself, or you make yourself sick because, I don't know about you, but I want something to happen, and I want it when? Now. I want you to come through for me when y'all? Now. Sometimes we want to see success when success is already there. Sometimes we want to see success when God is saying, I'm trying to make you a success by following me. He says now in Romans 6:19, therefore, what benefit were you then deriving from the things which you are now ashamed? For the outcome of those things is death. But now, having been freed from sin and enslaved to God, you derive your benefit, resulting in sanctification, the outcome, eternal life. For the wages of sin is death, but the free gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus the Lord. So he's saying there's some stuff you received that you thought was going to help you, but you're now ashamed. What benefit did it have to you? There's some things we get involved with that we thought we were supposed to be involved with, but later we look up and realize, it's not good. I shouldn't have been a part of that. He says, and so what benefit did it lead you? What benefit did you have? Or did you have a benefit by serving God? And so, because when you have grace, if you live the life of grace and you live a life with God, God's grace frees you from the mastery of sin or sin's mastery. There's some of us that we are good people, but sin, that control, that fence that surrounds my feet, causing me to stumble, that sin causes me to be mastered by it. Now, Peter, 1 Peter, 2 Peter says, I am not a slave. I will not be mastered by anything. What habit is it that it's mastering? What people pleasing is it that are you mastered by? What unforgiveness are you mastered by? What sexual sins are causing you to do this? What's happening inside? What I've come to the conclusion, the reason God doesn't work because I haven't worked with him. And he doesn't work because I haven't cried out to him, say, God, I am tired of looking at this pornography. I'm tired of slipping and sneaking and falling into this relationship. I am tired of every time something happens, I run out to go do something to relieve myself, and then I hate myself afterward. It gets to a point you don't change until you're sick and tired of you and that you're going to call on God. But if you have God's grace, you can become enslaved to God. With God's grace will help you overcome that strong moment of temptation that's trying to cause you to go and take matters into your own hand. Through God's grace, you are able to get through a process of growing up, because when you follow the grace of God, he matures you faster. But if you decide, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and live my own path. Say there are two paths, good and evil, right and wrong, light and dark. So now listen, if you take the dark path and you decide, you know what, I don't want eternal life. I don't want what comes with eternal life. I want my life to be better. And so what ends up happening is instant breakdown of fellowship with God. When you when you decide you're going to take matters in your own life, and you're going to live your life the way you want to live it, I ain't going to do what my parents are going to have, then there's going to be a breakdown with the fellowship with God. There's some of you young people, you don't even understand you have a relationship with God right now until you totally go out and go against everything you've been taught and do it yourself, and all of a sudden you're going to feel a break, and you're going to realize I had a connection, but it's no longer there. When you decide to do your own thing, God removes his hand of blessing from you. At one point, he's touching the things that you are doing, but then he takes his hand off of it. You become miserable and guilty when you choose your own path. A loss of personal integrity when you decide I'm going to do my own thing, my own way, the way I want to do it, because I just want to do me right now. You lose personal integrity, which means you lose love for yourself. When you decide I'm not going to do it, I'm going to do it my way, spiritual growth stops. And you start to go backwards. You bring a reproach on your family, you bring a reproach on the church when you decide, because as I told you last week, somebody's watching you. Somebody's serving God because of your ability. And there's several of you all that people are ashamed of your walk with God because they knew from whence you used to be, but now they know you are party queen. Are y'all with me? See, but you have to understand, if you were once been enlightened and then fall back, you are responsible for the other people who look at your life, because you were supposed to be a living epistle. And this is why our kids end up falling, because our kids watch us be faithless in our walk, but be faithful in our talk. So when you have chosen the path of what you're going to do, then there's going to be a sudden stoppage of everything. You can choose the path of grace, or you can choose the path of my own strength, my own flesh. But I want you to understand that you can go ahead and cash in and go ahead and get you a man. Go ahead and get you a girl. Go ahead and get you a girl and you a girl. Go ahead and get you a guy and you a guy. Go ahead and get you a guy and you a girl. Whatever it is, go ahead and do whatever you want to do. Go ahead and get you someone to cheat on. Go ahead and start flirting with somebody. Go ahead and start showing your cleavage. Go ahead and start wearing biker shorts and you ain't biking nowhere. Go ahead and start doing this kind of stuff. Go ahead and start getting your tramp stamp above your back, which is only used for your pimp or your man to see. And go ahead and get his name, and you ain't going to be with him in the next 2 weeks. Go ahead and get that tatted on your back. Go for it. Go for it. But you must understand there will be consequences for the choice you make. And yes, God forgives, but the scars don't go away. God will forgive, but them scars will remain there for the rest of your life. There was this guy, he grew up in sports. He was a jock, major ego, couldn't nobody tell him nothing. He was handsome. He lived life fast. One day, he used to like speeding at night in his speedboat. And he liked to speed at night, and if you ever been on a boat at night, and if you don't have the right light, you can't see anything. It is pitch dark. And one night he was speeding, and he was flying and did not see he hit a reef, and it threw him out the boat. All he had to grab onto was some pylon, those pylons that are there. And because he was in salt water, he had to really pull himself up on the pylons, but now the pylons had barnacles and stuff that had formed on it. And so the barnacles was cutting his skin, and he knew blood was going into the water, but that's all he had to hold on to, and he prayed. Right then and there, he said, God, if you get me out of this, please, because he knew he was in danger. He said, if you get me out of this. That prayer is a prayer of grace. He basically said, I don't deserve to be out of this. I know I'm off, but if you can get me out of this. What he's saying is, God, I know I don't deserve no favor to be blessed in the way I've been living, but if you can get me out of this, I'm going to serve you, I'm going to become a minister, and I'm going to change my life. Sometimes we make those vows after we've experienced some major changes in our life or interruptions or whatever it is. And sure enough, within a few minutes, it was as if God heard his prayer. A Coast Guard showed up and got him out. He was all cut up, and he kept his word towards God. He was cut up, and he kept his word towards God. He came out. He went to school. He did the whole 9 yards. And I take that back. He started serving God. He joined the church, started doing all kinds of things, and he was doing well. And then over time, he began to forget about his vow. Because over time, we can forget about we made a decision to serve God. Because the trouble is over. The crisis is over. And slowly but surely, he started slipping back into some old ways, some old things, and some old hanging out ways, and all this kind of stuff. And by this time, he was out there, and he knew his life was miserable. His life was miserable because he didn't like what he was doing anymore, and he was feeling convicted by this time, because once you've tasted God, and then you go back out there in the dirt like that, it's hard to be dirty. Everybody else can go for it, but God is still there right with you. You can high as you want to be, drunk as you want to be, sex as you want to be, but you right there, orgasm if you want to have one, whatever it is. But right after that moment, truth hits you to say, you know you don't belong here. You know I called you out of this. And so sure enough, he went through this whole situation, and he decided he was still out there doing his own thing. And then one night he was drunk, and he was speeding. And it was a rainy night, and ran into a cement pylon. It threw him through the window, cut his face up and everything. He went to the hospital. By this time, his face was ripped to shreds. And he said, God got my attention then. He said, God had my attention. And he vowed to serve God, and he got out there and this time he went to school. He got to school, served God, ministered until the day he died. But he said, and he often told this, God's grace is sufficient But every time I take a shower and I'm toweling myself off and I see them scars, the scars don't go nowhere. He said, them scars scream to me. They scream to me. When you have grace, when those scars, they don't go anywhere. And when those scars don't go anywhere, that's why you got to decide, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? How am I going to do this? The opposite of grace, opposite of grace is control. If you don't have grace, then you're controlling. If you don't have grace, you're controlling. Now, I know they don't have them here. It's mostly in ATL. They're the ones who control. Control is when you leverage the strength of your position or personality against the weakness of someone else in order to get that person to meet your selfish agenda. Say it with me. Control is when you leverage. I leverage the strength of my position or my personality against the weakness of someone else in order to get that person to meet my selfish agenda. So when you're controlling, you've got an advantage over someone and you're able to leverage that on someone. The position that you're a mother, position that you are the keeper of the cookie. Sometimes you can lord sex over somebody. You know, next time you'll see this is when you clean up. What? So when you lord that position or personality, or you have the ability to talk over the person's inability to talk. The snake tried to control Eve, sin entered the world. Eve tried to control Adam, lost their innocence. Adam tried to control God, and when he lost paradise. Sarah tried to control Hagar, Middle East conflict. As long as Jacob tried to control Esau, a family feud forever. So when you control people, many of us are controlling people and we think that we're helping them, but there's a big difference between controlling your child and keeping the child under control. And so if you're not careful, you'll look up and realize that you're impatient because you have become controlling. Control, selfish control, is anti-grace. Because every time you control your child, you take their ability to make their own decisions, thus you steal their confidence. And so many of us are the way we are because we had someone controlling in our own personal lives. So now, there are many of us that don't believe that we're controllers, so I had to take a few notes to make sure that I could make sure we were all together, because some of you are saying you're thinking about the person who needs to be here to hear this message. So we're going to speak to them so you can take this back to them, okay? Say this: contrary to popular belief, I was not brought here to keep people in line. Uh-oh. Did you hear that? Say, God didn't bring me here to help people act right. Did y'all hear me? Did you hear yourself? Say, God was not thinking about all the other people when he brought me here. He had a mission for me, and that was to stay out their life. So you know you're a controller when you believe that if they could just change two things about themselves, they would be a better person. And so you remind them over and over what they need to change in friendly little ways, just to be able to drop little hints that if you just change this, I could love you. That's controlling. You know you're controlling when you micromanage everything. Just do that one thing and then call me right back. But I want no, just do the one thing. You're controlling. You try to get people to meet your unrealistic expectations. Head games, heart games. Say this: I am a controller when I am responsible for the outcome of the lives around me. You are a steward over that child. That child ain't your property. That child is not for you to control at your every whim. And you're not responsible for the outcome of his or her life. You're responsible for giving them the best information they can get so they can make the best decision as possible. But when you make choices for your kids, you circumvent God's design. And you set in motion some other unfortunate circumstances. Because every time you circumvent them, you cause other things to happen. Say this: the only way to get something done right is to do it myself. That's control. That's control. Now, why is that control? Because people learn by experience. And if you always jump in, no, I don't, that's all right, that's all right. I was going to ask you to do it, but you don't seem to be able to carry these. No, I'm not even talking about you. This is me. So, no, I know I got a lot on my plate, but I'm going to do that too. Because if I ask you and it don't get done, then I'm going to be upset. And so and so you're trying to be nice about it. But you're letting them know I can't trust you. That ain't grace. That's why sex gets stopped in marriages, because after a while, I can't have sex with what's always complaining. It's a turnoff. Crickets, crickets, crickets. It's a turnoff. Who wants to make love to an arguer, an MMA fighter? I don't want to do that. Unless that's what we're supposed to be doing. Hey, look, I don't care anymore. So if y'all sitting there waiting for some pastoral stuff to be said outside of what I'm saying, you missing it. People, nobody want to make love to somebody that's always telling them what to do. Move over here, move. What? Say this: if I don't help someone make the right decision, do the right thing, or go to the right place, who will? God. It ain't your job to make sure they make the right decisions. It ain't your job to blow the script up. I know what your choice is, but you got to remember, if you do this, all this other stuff could happen. But now, it's on you. Shut up and get out his way. Shut up and get out their way. Because you are trying to influence something. As long as I'm making their choices, I'm making them dependent upon me. As long as I'm to this day, I got a thing with brown and blue. Because a lady told me, my friend's mother told me, when I had on some brown slacks and a blue shirt, that brown and blue don't go together. So every time I saw brown and blue, I'm like, that don't match. Then one day, this is years later, my wife even told me, you look good with the brown and the blue. And I was like, my God. It was hard for me to accept it. And then one day I was looking outside and noticed that the dirt was brown and the sky was blue. I said, they go together. I noticed that the bark was brown and it matched just right with, so I ain't never say, you know what, this brown and blue don't go together, God. You got to do something with these colors of this earth. But she put her opinion on me. And now I'm sitting here. Listen, this one lady, she was cooking a turkey. And while she was cooking, I take that back, it was Thanksgiving, and she took the ham and she cut the front off and the back off and put it in the thing. And her sister said, stop. And she says, no, this is the way Mom cook it. And I think Mom was outside. She said, no, Mom doesn't do it. And when Mom came into the room, she said, ain't this the way you cook it? She said, baby, we didn't have a pot big enough. And so I would cut the front and the back off. Now, she thought all her life, this is the way you cook a ham. You cut the front off and you cut the back off. But the mother said it was just we didn't have a pan big enough. Think of the decisions that you are following because of somebody else today. There's some things you can't do because Mom would not approve of it. Control. Mom can be dead and you still keeping her promises. Come on now. How come you won't talk to me? Say, how come? I know it's grammatically incorrect, but say anyway. How come you won't talk to me? An English teacher said, I just can't do it. Why won't you speak to me, son? The person we try to control, they find it difficult to trust us. Therefore, they will not confide in us. Because when you control me, you are not allowing me to be me. So therefore, I know I can't be free to tell you who I am. How come you won't talk to me? Because you control me with your anger. You control me by shutting down. I don't do what you want me to do. You shut it down. We have the manager controller. The manager controller. Now, what I am sharing with you, I was a control freak, man. I controlled it all. There were some people who was correct, say he was controlling. Yeah, I was in some areas. I was controlling it all. I'll never forget when I fell to the ground. I never forget I fell to the ground. Something had gone down, and I looked up and I realized that some foolishness had infiltrated the entire church, and that it was absolutely nothing I would have been able to do because this influence came from outside of the church against somebody who had something against me for years. And they had somebody come into the church and create confusion like you would not believe. And all I'm going to tell you is that was the day I fell to my knees because I looked up at the sky and I said, I ain't running nothing. By the time I realized the hit that the devil had put on this ministry, one day I'll put it in the book. But when I realized the hit that the devil had put on this ministry, I looked up in the sky and you were there. Van, you were there because y'all had to carry me into the house because I fell to my knees. And I realized at that point, I am not in control because at that point I said, God, I have done everything. Have you ever done everything you can to make something work and it still get messed up? And that was the day I threw up my hands. Van, that was the day Duran changed. Because at that point, Jill had to come out, and they said, pick him up. And I was sweating profusely. And they said, pick him up, and I was crying. And at that day, I understood God is in control. And I'm not running anything. Because I knew there was no way I could have stopped this sister from doing what she did. It was impossible for me to catch that. And that's when I said, God, you running stuff. So over these years, these last few years, I have had to wait in expectation for him to show up. For him to show up so that when I speak right now, I speak from a place of integrity, not a place of control. When you're a manager controller, your husband go out to buy something, your man go out to buy something. He sees some other little things he'd like to purchase, but he's not going to get it. Why? Because he knows when he comes home, you're going to be going through the bag. Why'd you get this? And I thought you went to the store just to get that. When you just going to be able to go to the store and get what I told you to get as opposed to getting all this other stuff? You paid for that with my card. Do you understand that that was my card? Whose pen did you use? What did you do? And so therefore he says, I'm not going to get nothing. I'll just get exactly what she said to get because I don't need a conversation when I get into the house. You are managing control. You know, you got poor men in here, right? I feel for you, brothers. You in the shower washing up with little bits of pieces of soap. Because you say, it's still soap on that thing. So you try to open a pack of soap. You know you opened a pack of soap because you're going to take a shower. You go to change it, do something. You come back. That little piece of soap is right there. She done took the soap, hid it somewhere until you finish that soap. So now you sitting there trying to wash yourself with little pieces of soap, trying to make sure everything get all right, making sure you get all behind your ears. Take your panties off, brother. Take them off. Oh, Lord have mercy. No, this is a true story. The man, so one time he finally got tired. He got tired. He put a hammer in the bathroom. The wife was, what the hammer is for? He said, for the shampoo. He took the shampoo and just hit the bottle so it could all squirt out into the thing so he could get the last of the shampoo. He took some vice grips and put them on the toothpaste. So he rolled it all and get as much. So, you know, you're sucking all the toothpaste out because they got this thing. Use it all up. Control. How many face cloths do you have? What is going on? My mom's, you couldn't take a shower longer than 2 minutes. I thought I was in drill camp. I didn't know what was going on. You get in there, but just barely get wet. Come on out, come on out. What? Money don't grow on trees, Ma. Y'all don't even pay for water. What is going on? Come on out of there. How long gonna take you to be in that shower? You ain't nothing but 110 pounds. What's going on? You ain't even got that much to wash. And so now that becomes a big conversation. You're a manager controller. You're the monarch controller. You lowered your position over everybody. You're the breadwinner. You make more money than everybody. And then you bring the money in. And so now you controlling the whole thing. Get to go on vacation when you get to go on vacation. Get to do whatever you want to do. And you lord it. I wish Jill would have tried to lord something over me. It didn't work. That's why she says she chose me. Not that she doesn't run things, because she does. She is in charge. So I just want to make sure that I get that, but that point made. But I do want you to know she can't lord nothing over me, because I'm bringing something to the table too. I said, no, you ain't lording that stuff over me. I bring something too, ha. Y'all don't get it. They get it in ATL. Y'all get it. And so that's when you use a position and whatever you got on people, and you get them to do what you want. You know, I mean, we used to go through. We don't go through this no more. Give me the ATM card. I said, I'm gonna get the money. I'll get it out for you. No, you're not gonna get the money out for. I'm gonna get it out myself. Deron, give me the card. You need to drive on. You're gonna be embarrassed because I'm not giving you this card. I know some of you couldn't go home after saying something like that, but I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you, huh? Take them higher. Take the tights off. Take the tights off. She's gonna have to be mad. But you just can't. Listen, yes, I want peace in the house, but not at the consequence of my own peace. I can't have you lording this anger over me. Did I tell you that you control because it's unresolved anger? Did I tell you that the reason we control because we never dealt with the anger that we experience, and so now it leaks out into everything that we do. And so there's some of us, you know, the kid be sitting down eating potato chips, and we just come up in the back. Hey, what you doing? Pop them all in the head. They don't know what the hell is going on. They trying to figure they're eating their chips, eating something. They don't know what's happening. That's the mugger controller. So now the kid got a problem. He eating. I wish this wasn't true, but he don't know what to do because mine just gonna come through. What? Pow! Come on now. We mug people because we scared. We want them to change. Are y'all with me? And so when you're doing that, if you're the mask controller, you wear a mask and you don't tell them until after they make a commitment to you. She waited till after the marriage to tell them that she smoked cigarettes. You wait till after to tell somebody what's really happening, and when you're a mass controller, you ensure that people deal with you the way you want them to deal with you, which means there's no relationship at all. Mine's a controller. You got strings attached. You give with strings attached. I'll do this for you, but you better remember where that came from. You give, so people don't want you to do nothing for them because you know you're going to bring it back on them. Or you're the microphone controller. That means you use your superior verbal skills to out-talk them. And so because they can't talk, well, I already know what you was going to say, and you keep talking them down, then you're trying to understand, why is he talking to somebody else on Facebook? Yeah, it's quiet, cricket. Listen, man, I ain't saying it's right, but after a while, a man don't feel like, or a woman don't feel like talking to a complainer, man. But if they would just change, if you would just chill. Because sometimes once you realize the grace that God has on you, you'll start having grace on other people. Once you understand that grace is God's undeserved favor and mercy, once you understand that God gave you grace even when you didn't deserve it, once you understand that he could have allowed some things, but he had mercy on you, and when you really come to that understanding that you could have busted hell wide open at any point, but through the grace of God, Once you realize how much you was doing and how much God was protecting you that whole time, that when you finally come to the knowledge and understanding of who he is and you understand that grace, you can let other people be themselves. And why do you let them be themselves? Because you've dealt with your toxic fear. She fears that her children are not going to have a relationship with the father the way she had a relationship with the father, and so now she controls the father's relationship with the children. Toxic what? Fear. So now he can't flow the way he needs to flow to be able to manage his home. He got to make sure he manages home and also don't mess with her emotions at the same time. You're controlling out of fear, and it's toxic fear. He controlled his wife, and he controlled his wife because of what happened with his mother and father. His mother cheated on his father. And so now he has toxic fear that the relationship could end. And so now he has no idea, neither does she, that he is controlling every act and fiber of her being so that he doesn't feel out of control. Toxic rage. Toxic rage, unresolved anger. The reason we control. Now remember, I'm trying to tell you, the road of control is a dead end. The role of control causes you to lose your blessings. The role of control causes you to sleep in separate rooms. Are y'all listening to me? And now you can't even make love no more. And love ain't even about making love no more because it's more about keeping stuff in order. Talk to me. When you control, things are dying. Toxic rage. This man had toxic rage, and when you have toxic rage, it's so toxic that what happens, like for the woman who cusses her child out and beats her child, for the man who cusses his child out and beats his child, what's happening is it's unresolved anger, and this child is not doing what you want them to do, and it's triggering you to remember your out of control world. And so the young you or the little boy in you is now losing it and saying, let me pump up the volume and dominate them. Dominate their heart, dominate their mind, dominate their spirit, get them to do what I need them to do so I can feel peace right now, you weak Negro. Because you don't understand, you are putting a complex in that child. You weak necker. That is the word for nigger, death, Negro, necro. You weak necro. Why? Because you're bringing death. You weak sister. You have got to wake up and understand you pumping up the volume is creating a sister of a narcissistic, meaningless life who will now leave you and screw whoever she wants to screw just to do it despite of you. And you won't be, you'll be trying to figure out, what did I do as a parent? You did not have grace. Grace means to protect or to fence or protect life. Shanan, Hanan. It really means to be inclined towards favor. It is to make camp with what is acceptable. And so when you have grace, God is saying, I'm going to make camp with you. Sometimes you got to have grace on yourself. You knew no better. Sometimes you got to realize I cussed them out because that's what I found out. But once you find that out, you got to change. I told a brother today, I said, you keep shutting down. I said, every time I talk to you, you talk about shutting down with your family. I said, you need to grow up, man. You can't keep shutting down. You're controlling the environment. Every time you shut down, you're making everybody now make you the victim. As opposed, now you're the culprit. You're the one who instigated. You'd have made this happen, but now you shut down, and everybody now got to tiptoe around you until you get it together. And once again, you're the center of attention, you weak necro. You're bringing death into your home. Grace. The day I found out what grace is, I stopped killing grace. The day I realized Talita gets to be who she is going to be, when I began to say, pregnant or married, whatever comes first, that was me saying, God, whatever happens, I can't run nothing no more. I can't be here, I can't be there, I can't do this, I can't be on top of it. God, pregnant, marriage, you name it, I quit because it's driving me crazy. It's driving me insane. And so what needed to happen at that point, I just needed to change me. At that point, I stopped getting on her. And I remember one time she did something real bad, and it was messed up. And we just sat in the room. I said, listen, I'm being rebuked for some stuff I just did day before yesterday. So we just need to get it together. I can't say nothing to you, can't correct you, can't do nothing. So, hey, Godspeed. Did you hear me? Because at that point, what am I going to say? Some of you still want to maintain your position. Sometimes your child is there to rebuke you and to show you how foolish you are, to show you how much you're holding on to something. But if you don't have grace, you're going to raise a whore. Grace. Sometimes you got to let it go. When you change who you are so that people will accept you, but you are not who you are controlling. You at work and you don't tell them how you really feel. Now, don't tell them how you really, really feel. I'm saying you got to at least speak up. But you go along with everything because you control the environment, but then you're upset because don't nobody listen to your suggestions because you don't talk. Grace gives us the feeling, the ability to walk free. Let go doesn't mean I'm not caring. It just means I can't do it for somebody else. It don't mean I'm not caring. I just can't do it no more. When I let go of this church, I said I can't meet and shake everybody's hand and be everything to everybody after service. I'm giving enough right here. I can't be everything, so I let that part of me go. I give myself grace to go home after I've worked. You don't stay after you work and talk to everybody on the job. So how was your day? Do y'all understand what kind of demons I'm helping get off of you right now? You don't even, I understand more what's happening, what you understand. You're going to be all fired up when this is over, and I'm going to be looking for something to eat, something to take the edge off of the demons that's going to be trying to run me because I help you stop being controlling. Y'all don't even understand. Right now, the devil is upset because he's saying, no, I had her. He was mine. Let him go. You ain't got to tell them where they messed up every time. Yeah, I hear you, but you could have. Shut up, man. Shut up, Ma. Let it be. Let him go. Let it go is not I am unable, but it's allowing you to learn from your natural consequences. I was telling them earlier, listen, I would like to cut up. I would like to go in Vegas and let some stuff be left in Vegas. Let's be honest with that. There's some things we'd like to do. If we wouldn't get in trouble, we'd do it. Our flesh wants to live to maximum. We want to get out and do some stuff. And I know my wife, she doesn't have those kind of desires because she's saved and filled with the Holy Ghost, and so she's patient. She doesn't deal with that. But for me, there are things that I'd like to do or I would do if I wouldn't get in trouble for it. Let's be honest with that. But you know I don't do it because of the consequences. I understand I need my connection with God. And then once you lose that connection with God, it's like being in the desert. I need God to be on right there with me. And so therefore, I don't step out and do certain things. Not saying I'm not perfect, but I don't drop out. See, when you understand, some of us, we fall, and after we fall, we drop out. You fall, I understand there's some people, you decide, listen, I've been celibate for 2-3 years now. There's fire in this kitchen. And it's shut up in my bones. Speaking of bones. And I'm just getting impatient. I'm going to have to hook up. It's going to have to be a hookup. Just a small hookup. Just a little one. Not a connection, but a hookup. God knows my heart. He also knows the fire. And he said it's better to burn than turn scriptures all around. It's better to burn than to be celibate. I get you, man. I get you. And then you finally say, Harold, come on over here. It's time. And Harold know what time it is. You called me? It's been a long time. I've been trying to get you on Facebook and some low stuff. Don't talk, Harold. Don't talk. Just come on over. I don't want to know how much sin I'm in. I just need to get a little piece of sin. Well, I'm glad you called because I've been going to church too. The moral of that story, when you drop out, get up, man. You fall, get up. Don't you wallow in that thing. You drop out now, you can't come back to church for 3, 4, 5 weeks. Because now you feel ashamed. No, part of grace is to realize, all right, God, you died for this, and I'm not going to continue to sin and degrade your sacrifice. And I'm going to have to now sit in my church home and take this message that I know I ain't live a nickel's worth of nothing, and I'm going to make myself sit here and take this because I'm not going to run. I'm getting up. I'm getting up. Let go means the outcome is not in my hands. When I let go of the outcome, when I let you go, it ain't in my hands. It's whatever you're going to do. I can only change myself. I got to be a grace-based family. I got to let you be what you're going to be. You know why you have like one brother, he telling me, he said, man, I just feel like I'm going to choke him. I'm going to choke him. I understand, because you want to choke you. You want to control them. You can't control them. And the reason you want to choke them is that they're doing what children do. They're becoming their own. They're coming into their own. I don't care how clean you are. You can be a clean person, but cussing people out don't work. Hello? Listen. Listen. We let our niece move with us at one point. She had a couple of children. See, God will get you. He'll get you. When don't nobody know what's going on in your house, that stuff can stay private. But then one day we was in front of Walker Mill. This is when we was first started the church. And I'm trying to get on her about something and blah, blah, blah. You cuss too? Don't say that in front of all the parishioners. She knew what she was doing. You cuss too? What about when you was cussing me out last night and this morning? Oh, shut the You hear me? I was like, what is happening? She's got to go. Oh, was I embarrassed? Like, what is going on? Now, everybody know I cuss, so I don't care anymore. But right about now, no, I'm joking. God will get you. You got to let some stuff go. You got to let some stuff go. Grace. I don't need to control you to feel good about myself. I allow you to work with me. And when you become a person of grace, you become a giver. Because a person of grace is a giver, a grace giver. When you give grace, you don't beat people down because you understand. You don't judge people because they went out and did this, because you understand. And you understand, if I'm not in my right mind, I too can do this. You understand people snap. You know, we got a graceless society because you got more women doing more time in prison than men, and they made one mistake. They made one mistake, and now they locked up forever, and a man get out 2, 3 times, but they get 7, 8 years because the male judges are calling these shots and locking these people up, and they just made a mistake. Grace is when you understand people fall. And now I made it palatable. I made it funny on purpose so you could take it. But when you walk out of here, you got to decide, I'm going to give grace. Every time I think I'm in somebody's life, I'm going to get out of it. Every time I think I'm going to leave this alone. Why? Because if I stay out of it, then God can bless me. Now that I'm no longer thinking about people, I get to think about what he's doing with me, with my life, with my family. Be a grace giver. Give grace. Give compassion. When you when you understand the grace that has been given to you, listen, I didn't look at the tithing statements. I know who tithing and who not tithing. I know we got leaders that's going here, don't give nothing, do all kinds of outside activity. I ain't going to say what you do, all kinds of outside activity, put all kinds of stuff in. Look at what you giving. That lets me know the grace of God ain't moving in your life. Now, you live in life, but you ain't great. You ain't got grace. Because once you understand grace, you can't even slack on that commitment to God. Because you understand, I was once. I guarantee you, sister, you were homeless. I guarantee you that you don't slack off when it comes to being obedient in church. Am I correct? I guarantee you, because I saw your story, I guarantee you that when it comes here, I don't care what you're going through. Even if you're not here, I got to get my stuff here because I know this is where I receive my food. But when you are a grace killer, you can kill your own grace and move in disobedience. I have to give. And how do you give grace? If you're easily upset, you can't have grace. If you jump mad fast, you can't have grace. Grace is saying, listen, even in the midst of a heated discussion, I'm giving grace. I can understand how you could get that, Jill. I see how you got that. Because I'm not looking to kill her and dominate her. Now, I'm not telling you let your kids do whatever, but at some point, they got to have their own life and their own choices. I ain't got no big finish. God bless.